You've said it, maybe out loud. One more game. It's 2 a.m. Your eyes hurt. You're not even having fun anymore, and you load in again anyway. Sit with how strange that is. You weren't enjoying it, and you still couldn't stop. That gap between not enjoying something and not being able to put it down has a name, a mechanism, and an exact moment it switches on. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. GTA 6 isn't out yet, but it's being built to live inside that gap. Not because Rockstar are villains, because that's where every deeply engaging game on Earth eventually ends up. So today we cross a line. The line between I love this game and I need this game. And I'm going to show you the precise psychological moment you cross it. 4 steps, in order, every single time. One promise first. This is not a lecture about screen time. I play too. This is the machinery under the hood. Because the people who understand the machinery are the ones who keep a hand on the wheel. Let's get into it. Start with the discovery that breaks your intuition. 2 neuroscientists, Berridge and Robinson, spent decades proving something wild. Wanting something and liking something run on 2 completely different systems in your brain. Liking is the actual pleasure. The warm hit when something feels good. It's small, fragile, and here's the kicker. It barely uses dopamine at all. Wanting is the craving, the pull, the reach, the I need to go get that. It's huge, it's robust, and that's the system dopamine runs. So when people call dopamine the pleasure chemical, they've got it wrong. Dopamine isn't pleasure. Dopamine is wanting. Why does that matter at 2 a.m.? Because the two can come apart. You can crave something you no longer enjoy. In the lab, they cranked up wanting while pleasure stayed flat. The animal chased harder for a reward it liked no more than before. And repetition doesn't calm the wanting down. It sensitizes it, makes it bigger, twitchier, quicker to fire. So the more you play, the louder the craving gets. Not the fun, the craving. But a craving getting louder still doesn't explain why you'd keep going once it stops feeling good. For that, the fun has to actually die. And it does. 1974. A psychologist named Richard Solomon notices every strong feeling comes with a rebound. Feel a high, your brain fires an opposite reaction to drag you back to neutral. He called it opponent process. Here's the part that should give you chills. Repeat the high over and over, and the 2 waves change shape. The high, the A process, shrinks, and the rebound, the come down, the B process, grows, gets bigger, lasts longer. Play it forward. Early on, you play for the rush and the come down is nothing. Months in, the rush is a shadow of what it was, tolerance. But the come down is a pit. Boredom, restlessness, that itch when you close the game. So watch what happens to your motive. You stop playing to feel good. You start playing to stop feeling bad, to climb out of the pit the last session dug. That's Solomon's paradox, and it's brutal. The habit is strongest exactly when it's least fun. Now stack it. A craving that outlives the fun. A come down that punishes you for quitting. But something still has to reach over and pull the trigger at 2 a.m. Something has to start it. And that something isn't a decision, it's your environment. Every time you play, your brain quietly wires the craving to whatever's around it. The loading music, the controller's weight in your hands, the notification ping, a friend's "you online?" Even just being bored, on the couch, where you always play. None of those are the game, they're neutral. But pair them with the reward enough times and they become triggers. Little switches that fire the craving before you've thought a single conscious thought. Scientists call it cue reactivity, and it doesn't stay contained. It generalizes, spreading to cues only loosely related to the game. And this isn't borrowed from drug research and crossed fingers. Brain scans of people with genuine gaming problems show them game images, and the deep reward and habit part of the brain, the dorsal striatum, lights up, craving on command. So the trigger stops being a choice you make and becomes a reflex to the room you're in. Which raises a very uncomfortable question. If the environment is pulling the trigger, who's actually choosing to play? That's the last step, and it's the one that redraws the line. Two more neuroscientists, Everett and Robbins, mapped exactly what happens next. And it's the moment everything's been building to. At the start, playing is a choice. It's goal-directed. I want this, so I'll do that. Deliberate, steered by the thinking, planning front of your brain. But repeat any action enough, and control physically moves. It migrates out of the deliberate system down into the automatic habit-running core. And as it moves, the brakes, the prefrontal cortex, the part that says, enough, log off, go quiet. That migration is the line. Not a wall you smash through one dramatic night. A quiet handoff of the steering wheel. From the you that decides to the autopilot that just runs. And you'll recognize the exact instant it's happened. It's the moment you come to, already 10 minutes deep, into a session you don't remember choosing to start. Your hands were playing before you decided to. That's not weakness. That's the handoff, complete. And notice how quietly it happens. Nobody picks the night it flips. There's no alarm, no voice announcing you've crossed over. You just notice weeks apart that the reaching for the controller now comes before the deciding to. That the login screen is already loading and you have no memory of opening the app. The choosing didn't get harder. It just stopped being the thing in charge. Here's what nobody tells you though. These four things, the craving, the come down, the cues, the handoff, they aren't four separate problems. They're one. Line them up in order and watch them click together. Wanting outlives liking, so you crave it after the fun's gone. The come down grows, so quitting hurts and returning relieves. Cues get wired in, so the world around you fires the craving on its own. And control hands off, so playing runs without you at the wheel. That's not a list, that's a sequence. A machine with four stages that feed each other. And it is the exact same sequence, verified in the same brain regions, that runs in drug addiction and in gambling. The research is now tracing that same track onto gaming. Watch it run in real time. Picture a Tuesday. You're tired, you had zero plan to play. Your phone buzzes, a friend's in a lobby. That's the cue, stage 3, firing the craving before you've weighed a single thing. You tell yourself one match, because honestly, the game hasn't felt great in weeks. That's stage 2, the high worn thin by tolerance. But closing the app feels worse than opening it. That's the come down talking you back in. So you stay. And somewhere in the next hour, the deciding goes quiet and the autopilot takes the wheel. Stage 4, until it's 2 a.m. again, and you're exactly where we started. 4 stages. One ordinary Tuesday. No good reason at any step. Now, notice the thing hiding in plain sight. Go back through all 4 stages. Not one of them required the game to be good. The craving, the come down, the cues, the handoff, none of it is about fun. The game never had to improve. The game didn't change at all. Your brain got trained. That's why just stop feels impossible from the inside. You're not overriding a decision. You're fighting a circuit that's been rehearsed into automatic. The line between loving it and needing it was never a moment you'd feel coming. By the time you feel it, the handoff already happened. And GTA 6 is going to be the most precisely engineered version of this machine ever shipped. The daily logins, the reward loops, the just one more mission structure, all designed to run these 4 stages smoothly. One honesty note, because it matters. The hardest evidence here comes from drug and gambling studies. Pointing it at games is fair, and the brain scans back it up. But it's newer science. Hold it as a lens, not a verdict. So before you throw your controller in the sea, breathe. Because here's the other half of the truth. This exact machinery, it's just learning. It's how you get good at anything. It's how every habit you're proud of got built. It's how you fell in love with games in the first place. The circuit isn't broken when a game hooks you. It's working exactly as designed. Games just happen to hit it with unusual precision. And the scary-sounding clinical stuff deserves honesty too. Yes, the World Health Organization now lists gaming disorder. But it's genuinely contested. Dozens of serious researchers pushed back, worried it would brand ordinary players as sick. To even qualify, the behavior has to wreck your real life for 12 straight months. The overwhelming majority of players never come anywhere close. So this was never, games are a drug and you're an addict. It's simpler. And more useful than that. Here's the wheel. Here's the handoff. Here's the 4 steps that move your hands before your mind catches up. You can already feel step 4, the session you didn't decide to start. That flicker of noticing, that's the break. And you can make that flicker louder, not with willpower. Willpower is the prefrontal brakes, and we just watch those go quiet. You make it louder with friction. Change the cues. Log out fully, so the next session costs 3 steps instead of 0. Move where you play. Put a real plan on the far side of one more, so there's something solid for the autopilot to bump into. You're not trying to outmuscle the machine. You'd lose. You're just making the handoff a little harder to complete. Seeing the machine is how you keep a hand on the wheel. 4 steps. Wanting outlives liking. The Comedown grows. The cues take over. And control hands off. That's how love quietly becomes need. If that reframed something for you, subscribe and hit the bell. This channel takes the psychology GTA 6 is built on apart, piece by piece, and you'll want the next one. Because here's what should genuinely unsettle you. Everything we just covered happens after you install the game. But the training starts way earlier than that. The trailer you rewatched, the countdown you're living in, the billions of views. None of that is luck. It's engineered, and it's aimed at your brain before you've played a single second. Next time, how GTA 6's marketing became a masterclass in manipulating millions of minds at once, and why you volunteered for it. You will not look at a hype cycle the same way again. I'll see you there.